Welcome to Marvelicious Toys. We bring you news and reviews of Marvel toys, statues, and more. Because not all Marvel collections can be bagged and boarded. They're not just toys, they're Marvelicious.
Marjorie and I, this past weekend, were at Wizard World in Land of the Cleaves.
Yeah, Wizard World is knocking it out of the park with their guests this year. We started off the year with Chris Evans, and they've got Chris Hemsworth in Cleveland, so we went.
We recorded a little bit at the show, and here is that report.
Well, it's Sunday morning here in Cleveland, Ohio. We're sitting at the official Wizard World Cleveland Hotel, the Hyatt, and we spent all day at Wizard World on Saturday.
We closed it down Friday night and Saturday night. Both times they were flashing the lights with a you don't have to go home but you can't stay here kind of vibe. I think we've only done that at Wizard World twice in the past. Once was last year in Chicago when you weren't there and I just ended up getting caught up in conversation with Glenn Fisher and Artist Alley. And then the other time was couple years ago when Dave Bautista was there and he didn't get signing autographs till almost 6:30 and we stayed until like 7:30 long after the floor was closed.
And he was a very gracious man and stayed until the last person got something signed, and I was almost the last person.
Yeah, we were close to the end. We made really good friends with the volunteers who were like telling everyone the line was cut off because they were like 4 feet from us the whole time.
Yeah, it is. You know, they have a rough job. They're telling people basically, sorry, you can't do this, and people get angry, and it happens.
But this is our first time in Cleveland, not just for Wizard World, but in general, where Avengers was shot, where Winter Soldier was shot.
Yes, and I'm loving it because you walk out of our hotel, and there is the street where Winter Soldier was shooting at Nick Fury and threw the bomb under his car and flipped it over. Just down the street from the convention center is the nice bridge where they had the big gunfight with Falcon and Black Widow, and they get captured. We're going to go see the Triskelion today. We're going to see some other shots. We drove by last night. We were out to dinner with some friends. We saw the place where Nick Fury had pulled up in his SUV, and they were looking at him, and he said, "You want to see my lease?"
But what brought us here was Chris Hemsworth. And Cleveland, it wasn't a bad drive. It wasn't as bad as New Orleans last month. It was an 8-hour drive that became 10 hours door-to-door with some stops at Walmarts and things. Found a Spider-Gwen.
Yes, I found it at a Walmart in the middle of nowhere. I think we were in Indiana still.
But yet, the map was telling us we were in, like, Richmond, Ohio, but we hadn't crossed the state line yet, so...
Yeah, I'm not really sure where I was.
We were in the demilitarized zone between Ohio and Indiana.
We were somewhere in the Midwest, in the Corn Belt, in the Tornado Belt, and they had the Sinister Six toys out, and they had remnants of that wave, and we started looking around, and you saw some of the Legends figures up top on that shelf above the pegs, and because I knew what the side of the package looked, I was able to tell you, of course, in the 3 rows of figures, it was the bottom one in the middle row.
So I did my own Spider-Man impersonation, scaled a wall, and grabbed her. But we did get here Friday a couple hours before close. That was our goal because picking up your badge at Wizard World is always a little bit of time taking, especially on a Saturday morning. Getting in Friday afternoon, walked right up. Marjorie got her press pass. I got my VIP Hemsworth badge, able to get on the floor. Their ticket redemption system, I understand why they compartmentalize it, but man, is it a pain because I also bought autograph tickets, so you have to go to the check-in to get your badge, and it's all through the Ticket Leap app. So I had to go up there and show them my Ticket Leap app and get my VIP badge. Then we have to go down to the autograph area, show them the Ticket Leap app to get my autograph tickets. Then if I'd bought another photo op, have to go over to the photo op booth, show them the Ticket Leap app to get the photo ops. So we were able to do all of that in minutes when we got in. The floor... First of all, weird convention center, almost entirely subterranean.
I kind of liked it, though. It was on the lakefront, Lake Erie, and the front faced the lake, and there's like a parking lot across the street. You know, there's a street in front of it and everything. But when you get in, you go down 2 levels, and you are completely underground. It's kind of cool. I don't know. It was really neat because when you came in, you got a really big sense of what you were about to walk into. There's some great views from the top floor.
Yeah, Chicago's somewhat similar because you're walking on the skywalk, so you get a view of the floor, but nothing like the panoramic view this provided. No window or anything, just a gorgeous view of the whole floor.
Yeah, and it was a really beautiful convention center. It looked new. It was very shiny. It's very chrome and lots of big windows out in front. They actually had reasonably priced food, and the lunch I had was actually decent for convention food.
Reasonably priced is a jaded view from convention goers when you decide that like $7 for a barbecue chicken sandwich, that your only options were cheese or no cheese, and that's a slice of American on barbecue. Okay, who am I to judge? But yeah, we're a little jaded by the $7 slice of pizza that the $7 barbecue sandwich looked good.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad price, and actually the water itself was not a bad price too. $3 for a bottle of water, that's a steal.
Wasn't it $3 for two, I thought you said?
No.
Oh, I thought you were saying it was $1.50 per bottle, which is gas station prices. $3. It's, yeah.
I guess I'm used to also paying like $5 to $8 for a bottle of water at Comic-Con, or Chicago is really high priced for their concessions. This was reasonably priced.
Also on Friday, since we got in, we went back over to see the Russos again. They had a new Captain America Iron Man poster this time. Last time they had the faces kind of above each other. Here they have the two facing off against each other. Again, nice guys, and they signed for free because it was Friday night. We got right in. There were like 8 people ahead of us. Their posters were kind of static clingy, and it was hard to get one. I accidentally grabbed 2, and they were Joe Russo was like, "Oh, you have 2." I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I went to put it back. He's like, "No, I'll sign it." So I'm like, "Well, can you make it out to Justin?"
Yeah, that was really cool. And he's like, "Sure." They were really nice guys, and they take the time to talk to everybody that comes to their line. They're very nice. They shook my hand, and because I'd met them in New Orleans, I had actually recognized, is it Joe?
Yeah.
The one without glasses.
Yeah.
And
I'm pretty sure.
he was the doctor in Winter Soldier when they go and find out Nick Fury's alive.
And Anthony kept, because you get the poster, he goes, "Arnie, that's a really cool name, Arnie." And I'm like, "Well, you don't hear that too much." He's like, "Well, I grew up, and it was either his cousin or his cousin's good friend who hung out with him all the time was named Arnie, and so he had a real good connotation with the name Arnie." So I'm like, "Oh, that's kind of cool."
You had quite the name weekend, though, because you also had someone sing a song to you with your name.
We will get there very soon. But the Russos, those guys are so cool in my book, to be so available, to be answering questions as much as they could, to be fun during the panel I saw them in. These guys, I don't care what happens or what comes out later, these guys will always be in my cool book forever. To be back here where they shot Winter Soldier, they don't have to do this stuff, and they're not charging for their autographs or anything. They're here for the fans.
Yeah, they're super nice, and the fact that you get a free poster with it, they're not charging for their autograph, they're just there to be nice to people.
With about an hour left before the floor closed, we started down Artist Alley. They had a weird Artist Alley arrangement. The big names were in row A, where you had Neil Adams and Greg Horn. Row B had like Zenoscope people, some Marvel people. We started in row F, and we saw a lot of handmade crafts like pillows and cross-stitch Kleenex boxes.
Yeah, there was more crafts at this one, and different crafts, and it's really great that they're recruiting more of those people, letting more of those people in, because that's sometimes an underrepresented area, I think, of art. Some of it was really overpriced for what it was, and I understand boots are very expensive at Wizard World. And it's not that I'm saying, oh, I can make that cheaper. I understand you handmade it, but I think you're overcharging for what you did.
That said, we've looked into you doing some hand-done stuff before, and the price you'd have to charge was much higher than I would ever pay, because it would take you like 2 hours to do it and $20 in material. And by the time you add that all together, if you just made minimum wage, that's a $40 or $50 item. And it's like, then you're charging $50 for a Kleenex box, and people look at you and go, "Oh my God, that's too high for a Kleenex box." I understand how they get to the prices they do. I also understand that some things just aren't worth it to me for that money, which is why we ended up not having you sell those things you were looking at.
Yeah, but we did buy some cool handmade stuff.
For Marvel stuff, I bought a few prints, but there was one guy, and we've seen him at conventions before. I recognized his art. He always does the, like, F is for Freddy kind of things. He had a new line of art. He's doing custom album covers, and I thought they were just going to be prints that were in the 12 by 12 of an album cover, but when you get there, they're front and back. They're all album covers that aren't really homages. They're just like if there were album covers. And he went to like a thrift store and bought all their 10-cent LPs and put them in. So when you're buying this, you're buying a record album cover with a record in it. He doesn't know what the record is. I don't know what the record is. But he had Winter Soldier one, Deadpool one. It was hard not to buy all 4 Marvel-based ones, but I did just get the Deadpool because it had him holding a Ryan Reynolds magazine.
Yeah, those were really, really great.
I got some sketch covers in Artist Alley as well, Friday and Saturday. Some awesome art there. But Saturday we went back, and that was Hemsworth Day. He was here for one day only. And with the VIP, I was able to get in the floor half an hour early, went straight to the Hemsworth line. I was 19th in line. That's a great position, even though the floor opened for VIPs at 9:30. Hemsworth was supposed to show up at 11. Better to have a 90-minute wait at the front of the line than a 3-hour wait at the end.
No, I agree completely, and that's the way to do this kind of thing. It looks like maybe you didn't need the VIP for it because it didn't seem like there aren't many Hemsworth VIPs, and they were still hawking his autograph and photo op towards the end of the day. Like every 5 minutes they made an announcement that there's still tickets available. So I wonder if the line had seriously dwindled.
Yeah, I envision Chris Hemsworth sitting there tapping his fingers because the line wasn't huge. He was off sequestered in a corner so people couldn't take his photo. And my guess at the number of Hemsworth VIPs is approximately 250 because the line behind me for the VIP autographs was not that big, but he did a couple autograph sessions, so maybe they all didn't come in first thing in the morning. He came in promptly at 11. Cordial guy, smiled. You know, he wouldn't talk too much, not as engaging as Chris Evans was with his fans. But he was polite and mumbly.
I told you he was no Evans.
The sales prove that. I mean, the VIP Chris Hemsworth did not sell out, whereas in New Orleans they had platinum, gold, and silver Evans VIPs that all sold out, even though they still were hawking a couple of autographs and photo ops at the end of the day there, too.
Well, no, they were just doing photo ops because the only way to get his autograph in New Orleans was to do either gold or platinum VIP. Silver VIP just got a signed photo, but you didn't get to actually go and do the autograph.
They also did a lotto, though, for regular attendees. I entered. I won. So I think they might not have sold all the autographs that they were wanting to. I can't remember if they were asking for autographs. They were definitely making photo ops available, though. Just walk up and get a photo taken, and they were doing that with Hemsworth here. After the autograph, I went over to the photo op, and I was third in line. This is where I'm getting the best estimate of the VIP number. There were 3 rows for the VIP lines, and I was in the third and final row. And so I'm guessing 75 to 100 people per row. They were pretty short. And then 3 rows. That means we're somewhere between 225 and 300 people.
Was it as fast as the Evans photo op?
It was exceptionally fast. I was disappointed because after the autograph, I went straight to the photo op, thinking I'll get in line there. The photo op was supposed to be at, was it noon?
1.
So at 1, I was done with the autograph about at 11:30. And so I'm like, okay, 90 minutes, but I'll be in front there too. I got there, they're like, you can't line up for another hour. I was appreciative of that because that meant I got to finish Artist Alley. But on the other hand, I'm like, okay, well, I came back exactly 1 hour later and they had 3 rows of them. And they did it a little poorly here because they wouldn't let you line up. They only had 2 photo op areas. So you couldn't line up because there were previous photo ops. If you all lined up for different photo ops, it would be a quagmire. So instead, people just stood outside there, creating this sea of people through whom you could not navigate.
Yeah, that was pretty bad there. There was a lot of disorganization outside of it where people were unofficially lining up to get into the official line, and it was kind of a mess. I know it seemed like maybe they needed to do a better traffic flow in that area.
But I got in and I was in the 3rd row, and I'm like, dang it, I'm in the 3rd row. I wanted to be, in the 1st row. He showed up on time.
Whoa.
I know. I waited maybe 15 minutes from the time the first photo was taken till the time the 3rd row was in. Admittedly, you don't get a whole lot of time with them, but boom, boom, boom. And it was not a long wait at all.
So did they come out and bark orders like they did for Evans where, no touching the guest below the waist, no jumping into the guest's arms, that kind of thing?
Not at all.
So somebody must have assaulted Chris Evans.
Or, I mean, this show is being run totally different than the last show. It's very different, and I don't know if Wizard is just continually evolving their line management strategies or if regional governors are keeping the people in line.
Yeah, it's hard to tell there.
But Hemsworth was nice. He smiled as you walked up, but then he wouldn't smile for the photos. Nobody's photos did he give a toothy grin. He would when you walked up. He give this kind of grim kind of, I don't know, maybe he thought it would lose his cool if he was smiling a big grin every photo.
Yeah, his smile was non-existent. And I saw other people's photos and people were complaining that he didn't smile in the photo.
I'm not complaining. I'm merely stating. Then we went for other autographs, and last minute edition was Chloe Bennett. And she's here. I think she was the last minute edition. Brad Dalton, Agent Ward from the show, was supposed to be here. He canceled due to work commitments. And then I went to buy my autograph tickets ahead of time, and Chloe Bennett was on the list. I'm like, I didn't know she was there. Yes, please. And so we got in that line and Elizabeth Henstridge's line at the same time. Not a very long wait for either of them. They were doing a photo op. They came back. Both exceptionally nice people, engaging in conversation. Chloe Bennett was taking selfies with people at the table, even though she wasn't supposed to, always talking to people. I didn't have a whole lot of conversation for Chloe Bennett. I don't know much about her other work. I don't know much about her life. I can't say, like when I saw Chris Hemsworth, I'm like, I really liked Cabin in the Woods. When I saw Chris Evans, I really liked Scott Pilgrim. Chloe Bennett, I'm like, hi, can you please sign here?
Yeah, but she sang you a song.
Yeah, I think she wants to fill the silence. She's one of those people who wants to. So since I didn't have much to talk about, she's like, Arnie. Because, the little name thing. So she goes, Arnie, I'm singing a song about Arnie. And I'm just looking at my friend Dale like, okay. And the tone she took, the sing-song was like, if you've seen Elf when he meets his dad and he thinks he's a singogram, he's like, and I'm here now, Daddy. It was like that tone of song about Arnie. It was like, it was fun though. She was cool.
See, that's a great story. And I went back to the hotel because Arnie bought too much stuff again. And I took a giant box of action figures back, which we'll talk later on. And as I was going back out to the convention, because it was only like a 2-block walk to the convention center, no point in driving.
And I didn't make her carry a heavy box. It was like a pound or two.
But I was exiting the hotel
without a box
and ran into Elizabeth Henstridge, who went out of her way to open the door for me and engage me in conversation. She doesn't know who I am. I doubt she recognized me from the autograph line with you, but just, oh, hello, how are you doing today? Are you having a good day? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wow, okay, that's really nice.
Well, she is British. They're more polite than us Yanks.
And she was totally adorable. She's just really cute with her little voice, and she's just so polite.
I was really impressed with both of them, how they really seemed to be engaging with their fans, and they seemed like genuinely nice people. They looked up, they conversed. When Elizabeth Henstridge saw my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, she goes, oh, look at all the other autographs you have. I love it when I'm signing things with other people have signed because it makes me feel like part of the team. Then she saw Chloe Bennett had said to Arnie 1 exclamation point, so Henstridge did 2 exclamation points. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, she was just really adorable.
Yeah, the only autograph we had trouble with isn't even Marvel. Robert Englund was like the hit of the con, like more than Hemsworth. Hemsworth, they're like, autographs are available. Chris Hemsworth, who was in Thor. It's not good if you have to tell us who he is. But Robert Englund, line capped, sending people away, telling them come back Sunday.
Yeah, they were just not, I think, prepared for his line. And Robert Englund, if you've ever met him at a convention, he is I put him up there maybe the top as one of the celebrities that if you're interested in, any of the Freddy stuff, you got to meet because he is phenomenal with people. He engages his fans. He's approachable. He's polite. He makes sure that he connects with everybody. I've noticed. I mean, just standing there watching him because they had such a line that they gave the people that had to leave when he did his photo op numbered tickets so they could go in and get back in line. And he was talking to people. He'd comment on something they wore or what they're getting signed. He entertained them. And his autograph line took a little bit longer, but it was okay because he connected with everybody. And that's the experience you want. He is one of the ones that gives you a great experience at a convention.
There is a Marvel tie. I can bring this up. He was the Vulture, the voice of the Vulture in Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon series. One of the things we interviewed him about way back in, I think it was 2010 at Comic-Con. I got to interview him. And so, yeah, if you need a Marvel thing signed and you don't know what to get from him, you can get the Spectacular Spider-Man DVD. I got a Nightmare on Elm Street, but he was great. Shopping on the floor. Well, I didn't want sugar squirrels. I didn't want to take part in a psychological investigation.
No, it was psychiatric research, so you could sign up to take part in psychiatric testing at a university.
Oh, people who've listened to my Howard the Duck Now playing know they don't want my input when I see a Rorschach blot and see the Dark Overlord from Howard the Duck.
Yeah, they also had Anderson Windows there. There were some timeshare people, and they were kind of tricky because they had this big Star Wars booth, huge booth, right when you walked in. All these Star Wars standees, blah, 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 hanging there saying, use the Force is calling you. And it was a thing to fill out to get information on a timeshare. They had the LASIK surgery people there.
The psychiatric research, though, has the best marketing of all of them because they had, like, Ultimate Spider-Man masks that were kind of like sleep masks. They just went around the eyes, but they had the black with the red webbing. But it was for psychiatric research? Okay.
Yeah, so they had that. You had your typical wizard tours. You know, there's the guy who charges too much for toys and some of the bootleg DVDs and TV shows and movies that you don't really see. This year they're having a new one on the tour. There's the Wild West soda place where you can go and I'm sure pay too much for soda in a silver collectible cup.
Real sugar soda, like the cane sugar type. But I don't know if that's on all of them. It's been at the two we've been at, though. We saw the last one, people walking around with these silver cups. We're like, ooh, fancy cocktails, liquor. No, just really high-sugared sodas. Not a lot of shopping. The shopping was small, the rows were short, and there weren't that many Flego vendors either. Sorry, Baron, I was keeping an eye out for your translucent Hulks. Not a single one here. I'm going to have to try again at the Wizard World in St. Louis in a couple of weeks and see if I can get them for you. We could have gotten it done. If I hadn't had all those autographs to do, plus the Hemsworth panel, we could have had this done in a blink. But I did find some things. You know, you don't need a lot of vendors. You just need the right one, right?
Yeah, and this one was really small on toy vendors and really small on comic vendors.
Yeah, I found one comic vendor who was selling me some blanks and a couple variant covers that his cover price on them was $80 and he charged me $40, which was good. But we came across one toy vendor. And I always look, there's always somebody with Toy Biz toys. And I'm not just talking Legends. Everybody has Legends. But I'm talking like some of the older 4-inch toys. And I noticed he had a Spider-Man toy of J. Jonah Jameson. And I walked up, and that thing looked like it was just case fresh. Like it had never been touched by human hands. Perfect. And I'm like, okay, how much? $5. And then I keep looking. He has a ton. He's got some X-Men figures that look pristine. A couple had a little damage, but...
I'm going to call these vintage figures because I think enough time has passed that these might be vintage figures.
Neo-vintage?
Neo-vintage. These were better than figures I've seen at a Walmart recently. I mean, I think these were untouched by the sun. Whoever had these was keeping them in an extremely well climate-controlled, light-controlled, dust-free environment. I mean, usually figures like that, you get some dust on top of the bubble, you know, it settles into like little nooks and crannies. These were phenomenal. Me and Dale were just sitting there in awe of all these figures. And then we came up with a term because you were focused on searching through these figures because the guy was offering a great deal. Is buy 4, get 1 free. They were $5 each. Then if you spend $100, you also got $20 off.
Now, these are the exact same figures that in crappy, dusty condition my local comic shop has on the wall. First of all, he doesn't have this selection. I've never seen the Dragon Man. I've never seen the Invisible Woman translucent figure. But some of the others he has on his wall, the cheapest is $9. They average $15, and they're in beat-up cards. And not totally beat up, but all the corners are bent and everything, and the bubbles are yellowed. Here, I mean, it got down to about $3 a figure. I went through and bought every Fantastic Four figure he had, one of each. He had a few spares. A couple weren't in great condition like the Thing, but at that point I was in for a penny and for a pound. I'm like, as much as I'm saving here, I'm going to take them all.
We were laughing and started singing the Danger Zone, but we call it the Arnie Zone, because you were like looking at figures and making these stacks, and I couldn't tell the organization if they were like in the waves or what, and just marveling the way you like quickly and deftly moved through these figures, weeding out the ones you wanted, the ones you didn't, going through, and then making the deal with the guy. We were sitting there singing the Arnie Zone.
Here's what the Arnie Zone is, though. Tunnel vision. Because I had no idea you guys were even there. And then later on, Dale said, did you see while you were looking at the figures, this little kid in an Iron Man suit? I'm like, kid? Iron Man suit? know there were toys.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it's like everything around you like stopped in slow motion. It was just moving really slow while you were doing this. And then you made your transaction purchase and boom, we're back to real time.
Yeah, I even picked up a couple of Fantastic Four. This guy, he wasn't the personal seller because he said that he was there with a team of like 5 people. But whoever he was selling for must have been a huge Fantastic Four fan, as he also had 2 box sets, Marvel Legends Fantastic Four sets, which were reasonably priced. One was $40, one was $50. But because I ended up spending $200, he then gave me $40 off. So I got all those X-Men figures, all those Fantastic Four figures, and both Legend box sets for $160. I got like 25 figures and the 2 box sets. It's a crazy cheap price. So despite the fact that I say there's not a lot on the floor, just takes one.
Yeah, and I think that was not to make a pun, but a fantastic purchase. Maybe it is a pun.
You also got a Jessica Jones t-shirt that you're going to have to wear for the photo op with Kristen Ritter in a bit.
Yeah. First of all, I love Kristen Ritter. I'm a big fan of Don't Trust to Be in Apartment 23. I can probably recite lines with you if you wanted to. I love that show. My first show ever seeing James Van Der Beek. I never saw Dawson's Creek, so I have a great appreciation for Van Der Beek now. The Beak, as he's called. And we were walking out, and what's funny is, thank God Dale was there, because without Dale, we needed his arms as well as the company, because I had someone to talk to while you were in the Arnie zone. But we were all like laden with all this stuff, because Dale bought stuff too there and was having a ball. And this is his first Wizard World. He had a great time. And I'm like walking by this T-shirt with him, like, I have to have that Jessica Jones shirt. And you're like, okay, buy it. Like, everyone had to turn around. And it's Jessica Jones, Alias Investigations, Hell's Kitchen, New York. But it was the Jack Daniels style logo. And they made it vintagey. So it's got like the washed out ink. It looks like an old shirt. It was awesome.
You have to wear that to St. Louis. You just have to, because it'll be a conversation piece.
Yes, it will be. And it was really cool. I was really excited to get that.
And then I walked by a comic vendor. There's a Marvel tie here. Marvel's been publishing the Stephen King comics like The Stand and Dark Tower. I found The Stand Omnibus for $57. I've been watching that thing on Amazon. It's never gone below $110. And then they had the Gunslinger and the Dark Tower Omnibuy, and those were $57, down from $150 each. So I brought, God, what is that, 40 pounds of books that we were carrying back to the hotel. They were heavy.
Yes, and I kind of wanted to kick you for buying books. I had to walk around carrying one of the giant books. I looked like I was going to go preach to people, like I was holding a giant Bible.
The day ended with the Chris Hemsworth panel. I've been to a lot of panels, folks. I've been to 10 San Diego Comic-Cons, and I've gone to multiple panels at each. I saw Joss Whedon at Wizard World Chicago. I've seen all the Lost panels at San Diego Comic-Con. I know the questions people will ask. Can I have your nameplate? I remember, can I have a hug? The one that stands out is one of the last Lost panels. Jorge Garcia was there, who plays Hurley on Lost. Somebody said, can I have a Hurley hug? And so got a hug. Never in my 14 years of constant convention going have I been so embarrassed to be a part of an audience as I was at this Chris Hemsworth panel. You got some good questions, like a little kid asked, behind the scenes, do you and Loki get along? And
oh, that's cute.
Yeah, and then got a story about hanging out at Ken, as Chris Hemsworth calls him, Ken Branagh's house in the pool with Tom Hiddleston, and getting a real rapport going so they could act like brothers before the first movie, and they visit each other's homes. Tom Hiddleston's come down to Australia. Then you get, of your 2 brothers, who's your favorite? I only knew he had one. There was one funny question that said, I think it's Liam from the Hunger Games.
I don't know.
If Liam had got a role in a Marvel movie, would it be competitive? And Chris Hemsworth was like, well, he would die. It would be contractually obligated that he would die in his first Marvel movie.
So, what are some of the questions that made you cringe?
Oh, boy. There was, what's your favorite cheese? And it's a Mexican cheese. Well, you know this.
Manchego.
Manchego is his favorite cheese, and the Russos moderated, and so they're like, well, you made a mistake. Now every convention you go to, somebody's going to bring you a pound of Manchego cheese. Will you come to my mom's house? She's making lasagna.
Ooh, boy.
He was like, oh, I've already spoken to your mom. I'm going right there after here. I mean, he handled it well. And then she said, okay, good. Be sure to bring your swimsuit because we're firing up the hot tub.
Awkward.
Oh, it gets worse. Women near me were chanting, take off your shirt, take off your shirt. He's not even Thor built. I mean, don't get me wrong. The guy's not flabby. The guy's really fit, but he wasn't big like Thor. He was actually talking about how he has to start his regime to get that going because they're going to be filming Thor 3, and he had to downsize for other film roles like Ghostbusters and Vacation. So, but they were still chanting that. Then there was one person who came up and said, can I take a selfie with you? And the audience all yelled no, but Hemsworth, nice guy, you can't say no, did it, and the audience booed the girl getting it.
Yeah, I really want to suggest to Wizard World, if you ever listen to this, pre-screen the questions. I know you can't control what people are going to say when they get up there, but you can weed out a lot of people by just saying, hey, what question are you going to ask? No, you can't ask that. Do you have another question? Okay, thanks, bye.
Then the person right after the selfie person went into this long-winded story about how her friends at school make fun of Thor and call him, like, I don't even remember the stupid made-up name they call him. And she asked if he would tell them, like, she recited some speech she wanted him to say to smite them for making fun of his character and calling him that name. And she was going to video it for her school. And he handled it well. And he's like, well, no, I'm not going to. First, that's more dialogue than I've ever had in any of my movies. And second of all, I like that name. So why would I yell at them? Just a good way to brush off and a polite way of saying, I'm not your monkey.
Yeah, I'm glad he could roll with the punches. I didn't go to the panel. I made a supply run back to the hotel room, dropped off stuff, and you and Dale went. And I'm glad you guys went and had a good time. I'm glad that Hemsworth could roll with the punches because I wasn't sure because he didn't seem very chatty with people. And some people are really good on screen and can't handle, without being prompted or being fed lines. And I wasn't sure how he'd behave, and he actually did well.
Yeah, he was amusing without being like a Robert Englund or a Brent Spiner or somebody who's just, you can't look away from them. But he was funny in his responses. And the Russos had a really funny line unintentionally. They said, like, the way they phrased it, they were asked like what it was like to work with Chris Hemsworth because they were starting Infinity War. And I think it was Joe Russo who went, Hollywood is filled with so many complicated personalities, and working with Chris is just such a joy as he's always pleasant. I'm like, that's a wonderful euphemism for complicated personality.
That is good. I like the Russo brothers. They're very entertaining.
The panel was fun, but man, there were like a couple of questions where I had to like cover my eyes and put my head down and be like, please be over, please be over. I was embarrassed for the asker. I was embarrassed for Chris Hemsworth. I was embarrassed to be part of an audience that seems to condone that kind of question and behavior. Boy, some of the questions were good, and some of the questions, the younger the person was, the better the question was, believe it or not. Because like the do you and Loki get along kind of thing.
I think that might be the best question ever asked at a panel from a little kid. I mean, little kids come up with the greatest stuff, and they wonder about the strangest things. And I'm sure that, because I imagine you, if they had these things when you were a little kid, that's something you would have asked, and something that would have worried you and kept you up at night as if Loki and Thor really get along or not.
One of the other good questions, this one came from an adult, is you're not in Civil War, so which team would you take? Team Cap or Team Iron Man?
Team Cap! Team Cap!
Well, the Russos then said, how do you know he's not in Civil War?
Oh.
Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. They could just be teasing. But then he's like, well, let's see. Captain America's always been nice to me. Iron Man's gotten his digs in, he's a funny guy, so I guess I'm Team Cap.
Yay! Another one.
Grr. Some of us booed. So I had a great time, though. I mean, between the Chris Evans, New Orleans, and this, it's like we've had two great cons where everything kind of worked like clockwork. You didn't like the panel at the end of the day because you felt it put us under a time constraint. I preferred it because we had to leave the Chris Evans panel earlier. I even subscribed to Wizard World's Con TV to see the part of the panel I missed, and they've never put it up. They streamed it live, but never put it up. And this, by being at the end of the day, I just had to make sure that my day ended at 5:30, and because we were VIP, glorious, lots of seating. If you hadn't been VIP, they didn't clear the rooms. Wizard usually does, but here they went like the Comic-Con route, and people just camped in that room all day. There were probably 500 to 1,000 people waiting outside for the Hemsworth panel who were not going to get in because the rest of the seats were just full. And it was hard to get out because everybody was coming in and out at the same time. They didn't have outdoors and indoors, so you felt like you were swimming upstream between panels. But no, a great time. And
well, it's time for us to head out now, and we're going to go and see all the places where Winter Soldier was filmed in Cleveland with Dale.
All right, so we will take it back to the studio.
Cleveland rocks.
Yep, Arnie did not ever watch a Drew Carey show.
I did.
You
I
didn't
told
like
you I
it?
did. No, I didn't. But I watched
Yeah.
some.
I didn't necessarily like it, but I knew the theme song.
Well, the first one was It's a 5 O'Clock World, which is really good too. And then later on, they changed to Cleveland Rocks, which is sung by presidents of the United States of America.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Millions of peaches.
Yep. Peaches for you and peaches for me.
But you said that Wizard World was hitting it out of the park. They certainly are. I don't know why they've upped their game. Truthfully, Wizard has been known as a convention that finds local conventions and then becomes a gorilla that tries to put those small conventions out of business.
And they frequently feature, I don't want to say washed up, but, not working stars like Dean Cain that have a high nostalgia factor, Andrew McCarthy,
Eric Estrada, and wrestlers. Lots and lots of WWE.
Well, and to give you an idea, like what other guests they had in Cleveland, which this one makes perfect sense, but he's not really doing much now. Corbin Burnson. No one else gets that. Okay, crickets.
No, I recognize his name. I just don't know what he's famous for.
Well, he was on LA Law, but he was also in the movie Major League, which was the Cleveland Indians. He played the shortstop.
Yeah, I saw that movie
Roger
once.
Dorn. Okay.
He also had a small but important role in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, a movie everyone should see.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good movie. They also had Henry Winkler, who for some reason was only charging $30 for an autograph.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. But he's like grandpa age now.
I love him from obviously Happy Days days, but I would go talk to him about Arrested Development.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I forgot he was the lawyer there.
Really good.
I probably talked to him about Night Shift with Michael Keaton.
Going way back.
But the future Wizard Worlds, we're going to a lot of Wizard Worlds coming up because they are just killing it. In just a few weeks, April Fool's Weekend, Wizard World St. Louis, which we've reported on every year they've done it, and usually been meh.
Usually we are in and out in 90 minutes and spend more time at the wine bar just outside the entrance to the convention center than we do at the convention.
Usually, yeah, we do the floor very quick. We go, oh, look, sugar rat things, sugar squirrels.
Sugar squirrels.
Sugar squirrels.
No, they sell animals now.
Sugar gliders.
Sugar gliders, that's it. They're called flying squirrels, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they came up with a new cute name so they could sell them.
Yeah. Well, they have those. There's a LASIK surgery booth.
Yeah. So this year, though, they have David Tennant in only his second American signing appearance ever, according to a friend of mine who is big in autographs.
Is that a Doctor Who guy?
It is, but he's also the Purple Man from Jessica Jones.
Ooh.
Now, to get his autograph, you have to buy a VIP ticket at $400.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Fortunately, that friend of mine and I both want different things. I want his autograph on a Jessica Jones item. He just wants the photo with the man, so we're going halvesies.
Oh, nice.
But they're also having Kristen Ritter, who is Jessica Jones.
And Mike Coulter, who's Luke Cage on Jessica Jones.
Wow, they're just getting all the entertainment out, like, early on.
But wait, there's more. They just added Charlie Cox from Daredevil. Eldon Henson, who is Foggy Nelson on Daredevil.
Huh. Are these sponsored by Netflix at this point?
Kristen Ritter did Portland, and I'm like, I almost wanted to go to Portland to get her autograph. She's great in the Bee in Apartment 23.
Yeah, I have to sing her praises and Don't Trust to Be in Apartment 23. Probably the best TV show you never watched. She plays a slutty alcoholic manipulator with a heart of gold in Don't Trust to Be in Apartment 23. And it's got James Van Der Beek in it.
Hey, the Beak.
The Beak, yes.
And then the very next weekend, April 8th, we're going to Madison, Wisconsin.
Hey.
David Tennant will be there again, so if I miss out, as will Kristen Ritter, Mike Colton. They're also having Brett Dalton, who is Agent Ward from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was supposed to be in Land of the Cleaves, but had to cancel. And I'm wondering if they might add some big names on the way there. And Elizabeth Henstridge, who we got in Cleveland, is in both St. Louis and in Madison. I mean, there's just, for Marvel guests, especially when you add Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans into the mix, they're killing it right now. And God only knows how many more we'll go to.
As I say, you guys got to save it up, man. You're going to be conned out before the year's even half over.
If Wizard World slows down, then we will. But the ones within driving distance for us are Minneapolis in May, Columbus in July, Chicago we will certainly go to in August, and there's no big name guests for that one yet, but that's their flagship show. So I'm expecting something major. Last year they had
Renner.
Yeah, Jeremy Renner, and that was a big deal because he hadn't done any of those. But now that he did New Orleans and things, and they're getting even bigger names than Renner, I'm wondering. I got to keep my eye on that show and see what they're going to do. And I also got to keep my eye on their wallet because those VIP admissions that you need to get are expensive.
But if Evans does again, we'll go if it's close.
Yes.
Because Chris Evans.
I can already tell what's going to happen. You guys are going to not want to go to San Diego but after all these other trips.
Oh, no, these are easy peasy.
So yeah, if you're in Madison or St. Louis or anything and see us at the show, be sure to say hi, and we're looking forward to seeing you.
Thanks for watching this video. You can see full episodes of Marvelicious Toys with more collecting news and reviews at marvelicioustoys.com. We also have thousands of toy and collectible photos in our photo gallery. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, make mine Marvelicious.